Welcome! Hey! Welcome back to day 3 of our 5-day challenge. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm glad you made it back. Welcome back. Welcome to all the people who are here live. And I want to do a special welcome to those of you who are watching the replay. Sometimes it can feel like, oh, I'm watching the replay, I'm kind of behind, I'm not keeping up. But I want you to know that those of you who are watching the replay, I have a special place in my heart for you, because even though you missed the live, you did not let that stop you from taking action. So I just want to give a shout out to my replay listeners, because you guys are taking messy action, and I love that. And of course, I love my people who are here live. I'm so glad that you are here and that you made it back for day 3 of the challenge. I think every day I say this, but this is one of my favorite days, because this is where a lot of things that you have seen happen in your fitness journey and observed, you start to understand. And once we start to understand things, then we can change them. And that's a really exciting and empowering position to be in. So the first thing though, what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a check-in, because I gave you an assignment yesterday. I'm glad I'm not sick too, Pam. I gave you an assignment yesterday, and I want to check in with how that assignment went for you. So we're going to do a little bit of a debrief time. Now, I teach a full debrief process inside of Macros 101, but this is a piece of the puzzle that I find that so many women completely skip over in their journey. They set a goal, they do something, they try to execute it, they either achieve it or they don't, and then that's it. There's no debrief of that process, there's no learning of the lessons, there's no integrating that into the future. And so you find yourself staying stuck, repeating the same lessons over and over again. And so we're gonna do a little bit of a debrief time here together today. And again, whether you're live or you're listening to the replay, this is really a debrief that you're doing with yourself. So my question for you is, how did executing your process goal go yesterday? Now, you guys can start answering in the chat if you would like to share. Again, this is really just a self-reflection piece. One of the things I find, and one of the things that women communicate to me all the time, is that they don't set goals because they're afraid of what will happen if they don't achieve them. And so let's talk about that fear a little bit, because for some of you listening, you're like, Amber, I rocked it. I did great yesterday. I executed just like I planned. I used my implementation intention, or I didn't even need my implementation intention. I did awesome. And you're like, pat on the back, right? That's amazing. Super happy for you. But some of you didn't execute, or you didn't execute in the way that you would like to. And oftentimes we see that as a fail, or we see that as like something didn't go well, or you did something wrong. And none of us like to feel that way. So what if we could kind of shift our thinking around this? And what if you not executing yesterday is actually a win? Like, what, Amber? How is me not fulfilling my goal yesterday any kind of a win? Well, let me tell you, if you're trying to move a car and it is parked, how hard is it to move a parked car? It's like basically impossible, right? The car needs to have some sort of momentum in order to guide it into the parking space. And I want you to think about it in your journey. So many of you are so paralyzed by this idea of like, what if I don't achieve the goal? What if I don't do what I say I'm gonna do? That you are literally parking yourself and not moving at all. And so what if you setting the goal and not achieving it is at least you having some momentum forward? Because when you have some momentum, when you have some feedback, when you have some data, something happened yesterday. And whether you achieved your goal or you didn't, something happened yesterday, and that's information for us. So if you didn't achieve your goal yesterday, and for those of you who did achieve your goal, congratulations, that's amazing. I still want you to be listening, because you can be putting this into your back pocket, because there will always be times that we don't achieve our goals, or that we say we're gonna do something and we don't. And that doesn't really matter. What matters is what happens next and what you do with that information and that feedback. So some questions, if you struggled yesterday executing your goal, or again, you can put these in your back pocket for the future. Some questions you can start asking yourself is, what prevented you from executing? What came up? Okay? Do you need to change the goal in the future? Was the goal too lofty for you? Remember we talked about the ladder yesterday. Was the goal too lofty for you? Do you need to adjust the goal? Or do you simply need to have a better implementation intention? Did something happen yesterday that you need to think through for the next time around? This is all important feedback. It's all important information. Now, what you do with this information is going to determine whether you're successful in the future with that goal. So again, Whether or not you achieved your goal yesterday doesn't really matter to me. The fact that you set a goal and now we can debrief it, we can go back over it and learn lessons from yesterday, that is what's going to be able to propel you forward. Okay, so I want to go to the chat and just go through a little bit of what you guys are writing in. Kristen said, I didn't think I would be able to meet my process goal yesterday, but I did. That's awesome. It's interesting how a process goal is a pivot towards fine-tuning your final goal. I love that, Deanne. Michael, can you scroll down a little bit just so I can see some more comments? Awesome. Shannon said, I think I need to hone in my goal to execute a better plan. Like you said, more specific. What a fantastic lesson, Shannon. Again, it's like maybe you didn't execute the goal like you wanted to yesterday, but what you got was exactly what you needed. You needed that lesson, and now you can take that lesson and apply it moving forward. Desiree said, I did half of my goal. I took pictures, but I didn't take measurements. So now you can ask yourself the question, Desiree, what prevented you from taking measurements? What do we need to do today to be able to make that commitment, to be able to make that goal and achieve it? McKenna said, making my goal more specific really helps. Drinking 1/2 gallon of water instead of just drinking more water. That's beautiful. So you're able to see how specificity really can improve your ability to be successful. Jody said, not well. I did not execute my process goal, but I will today. So Jody, again, I want you to see that as a win. So often we see that as like a failure. It's not. It is a win. You set a goal. You learned a lesson today of why you didn't, you learned it from yesterday. Why didn't you achieve that? How can we set you up for success in the future? That is a valuable lesson for you to take and apply in the future. Amy said, I made 3 very specific goals, even though, Amy, I told you to make 1. I will let it slide. I made 3 very specific goals. That's new for me. Awesome. Jenny said, I did it, stayed in my calorie deficit at 1800 and celebrated myself at the end of the day. Okay, you're like getting ahead. So that was the thing I was going to say. Whether or not you did it or you did not do it, my next question for you that I always ask my Macros 101 clients is, how are you celebrating? How are you celebrating yourself? Now, a lot of us as women are really great at celebrating other people and terrible at celebrating ourselves. You think about it, we understand the power of celebrating because when we go to our kid's soccer game or your grandkid's soccer game or your niece and nephew's soccer game, you understand that your job as a parent, as a spectator, is to freaking cheer on every single thing that child does, right? They try to score a goal and they miss and you're freaking over there cheering for them. Go Bobby, go, right? They like pass a ball and it doesn't do well. It's okay, you got this, right? So we understand internally that our child is gonna do better if we stand on the sidelines and cheer for them. No parent is ever over there like, Johnny, when you score a goal, then I'll cheer. But before that, you ain't getting no cheering, right? We like that just feels so wrong to us because we internally know that celebration is going to motivate. Celebration is going to push and incentivize that child to perform at their best. And how often are you doing that for yourself? Okay, so this is a moment to celebrate yourself. It's a moment to celebrate the fact that you did or you didn't, but you set a goal and you showed back up today, and that means something about you. Okay, I want to talk really quickly about something that I see all the time, and this is really good to bring this conversation in on day 3 because some of y'all are feeling a little behind. Let's talk about it. This was a conversation that I had with one of you. This person said, I'm scared that tracking won't work, so I don't stay committed. So I'm always behind. And I asked the question because we can only use the word behind in comparison to something else. So I asked, what are you comparing it to? You're behind what? Behind who? She says, I'm behind where I wanted to be at this point. And here's what I responded to her. I said, well, of course you are. Literally all of us would like to be further along than we are. That's everybody in the world. 0 people are sitting there thinking, man, I'm so much further ahead of where I wanted to be. The key is recognizing that's just human, and it doesn't mean you aren't exactly where you're supposed to be, regardless of if you want it to happen faster. And that's the same thing that I want to communicate to you. Some of you guys are listening to this and it's not day 3 anymore. And maybe you feel a little bit behind. And I just wanted to encourage you to recognize that wherever you're at in your journey is exactly where you need to be. And if we get caught up in our head of comparison, or I'm behind her, or I'm behind the challenge, or I'm behind whatever, what happens? You quit. And then, like, where's that going to get you? So instead, I really want you to put that idea of behind away. You are exactly where you need to be. Whether you're watching this on day 3 or day 5 or day 7 or day 10. Okay? Get out of your mind that comparison of behind and just focus on what can I do today to move forward towards my goals. Okay? All right, we're going to kick it off with Betty. Love Betty. Betty has some fantastic, helpful content to be able to share with you about what she's learned during this journey. Again, if you're just joining us, every day we play a 3-minute video from one of our Macros 101 alumni in order to help you start to see yourself in them. See what has made these women successful so you can take the information and apply it to your journey. Now, the cool thing about Betty, I'm going to show you her video here really quick. Again, I want you to be pulling out some of those information as you're listening to her. But the cool thing about Betty is that Betty is actually in our continued coaching program Beyond Macros 101. And a couple days ago, she made a follow-up post in our community. And so after the video, I'm going to get to show you that follow-up post. And I think it's going to be really cool for you to see where she was at when she was in this challenge and how much she's grown over the last couple of months. So let's listen to Betty.
Hi, my name's Betty. I'm here to tell you a little bit about me and how I got to Macros 101. I started off, I found it on Facebook, and it came at a time that I had been the heaviest I'd ever been and in the worst physical shape I'd ever been in, and I couldn't seem to get myself back on track. The reason that happened was COVID. I'm in healthcare, and that was a time when those of us in healthcare felt very helpless. A lot of people died, and we took that home with us every night. Second part of that is my biggest stress reliever on the day-to-day is my horse Derby. He's where I have therapy and relieve all my stress. So happened, he got injured and bucked me off, but he hurt more than my head. It hurt my heart. I just gave up. So I wasn't just stuck, I was frozen in place that I just didn't think was possible to come back from. I just thought that's who I was supposed to be, and I didn't like me at all. So macros, it taught me from the get-go that messy action is better than no action. And what got me where I wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. And where I wanted to go was to love me again. So, messy action, one thing every day, one thing that just moved me a little closer, whether it be track my calories or drink a glass of water or take a walk at lunch. Those are the things I did. People began to notice. So we've sort of formed a group at work. We all walked at lunch until it became 100 degrees out, and we're looking forward to the fall. The other thing was those mental blocks that I had. I learned to not talk so negatively to myself. I learned that I can, I will, I do now. I don't wait, I don't try. Just do what I can. And messy action is just soul saving. So I did have a successful cut. That's Cowboy. I did have a successful cut. And now I'm practicing being at maintenance, and this fall I'm going to do another cut. I have a round of pictures that I plan to take with my horse Derby, and I'm not so worried if I lose the next 20 pounds that I need to lose, because what I'm going to take with me is me, and that's just going to be a special thing. So I guess what I'm saying is macro made me love myself again, and made me learn that I'm worthy of whatever I think I'm worthy of, which is everything. So thanks for listening. Have a good day.
Macros 101 made me love myself again. I mean, chills, right? And I hope that you notice that Betty reinforced some of the things that I've been teaching here in the challenge, that idea of one thing that moved me closer to my goal every single day. She talked about mental blocks. That's what really today is going to be focused on. We're going to help you to get clear on some of your specific mental blocks. And then I love when she said, I got chills when she said, I can, I will, I do. Language is powerful. It creates our world. And when you change your language, you change the way you think, you change the results that you get. And that's a lot about what today is about. So I promised you I'd share a little bit of update. So Betty posted this in our community and she said, I just listened to day 1 of the challenge and it was amazing. I remember the last time listening and thinking, I'm just gonna quote unquote try this. And somewhere during that day 1, I committed to me. And today I realized setting those goals, which I now call adventures with purpose, because that just helps me visualize a fun time. It's incredible how emptying your cup, or even with material you've heard before, can take on new meanings during a different part of your journey, and to look back and reinforce the changes that have occurred for me. So here's my mind-blown takeaway. Action does not have to be how I track or what workout I do. Action can be behavior, how quickly I shift my negative thoughts, my recommitment to myself. I get to define the action that changes my old ways of thinking / trying to do my new habits of shifting negative thoughts and doing. So I just thought that was such a fun update from Betty and such a shift that she's been able to see and how she is showing up in her journey. And like she said, that love that she has for herself, which I know a lot of you who are listening are desperate for that. You're wanting to get back to that place where you feel confident, you feel that self-love, and you feel that self-worth. And we're going to dive into that today. So yesterday on the Facebook group, I asked you guys how self-sabotage specifically manifests for you. And it was super interesting, the comments that you said. I don't know why my slide's not advancing. There we go. The comments that you guys gave were, a lot of the same things over and over again. I self-sabotage by eating what sounds good. I do great. I expect results, and then I get distracted. I get off track, for one meal, and then it's like, throw up my hands. Like, I can't even manage to be consistent. Every time I get close to my goal weight, I go off the rails and bring back old habits. I get so overwhelmed with everything that needs to be done that I completely shut down or I do nothing. And, one of the things that I think is so interesting is that so many of us have had these same experiences. And I call that experience self-sabotage, when you know something and you don't do it. So the question that I got really curious about is, why do some women have a lot of knowledge? They've gained, they understand what they need to do. Why do those women stop and quit and never gain real traction in their journey? Many of you are sitting here and you're like, I want the result, Amber. I want it. I desire it. So why the heck do I do all of these things that hold me back? You stop tracking, you overeat on the weekends, you skip your workouts, all the things that you guys realize and identify as self-sabotaging behaviors. Why does it feel like there's half of you that is fighting against the other half? Like, part of you wants you and part of you wants this goal and part of you doesn't. Part of you wants to stay on track and part of you doesn't. And the real answer is that knowing and doing aren't the same thing. And so often we spend so much of our time trying to know more, learn more, consume more content, and wondering why the heck it doesn't translate into the actions that we take. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The big thing that I want you to understand right off the get-go is that the symptom is not the problem. So a lot of times you see the symptom. For example, the symptom may be, I do great tracking, and then I have a meal that I don't really know how to track, and so I don't track at all, I throw up my hands, and I don't track the rest of the day, right? So that's the symptom. And what happens is we try to solve that symptom. How can I troubleshoot that? How can I get myself to track? How can I just have more willpower and finish tracking out the day? And we're trying to solve the symptom, not the underlying problem. So let me use an analogy, because if you haven't figured out yet, I love analogies. I think they help us to learn complicated concepts. If you have a headache, that is a symptom. That headache could be caused from a brain tumor. It can be caused from not drinking enough water. It can be because of lack of sleep. It can be caused vasoconstriction or vasodilation. Like, there's so many things that be causing your headache. But if we try to correct your headache with, a medication, and it's actually caused by a brain tumor, it's never going to go away. Like, you're still going to continue to have headache after headache after headache. And all we're doing is just putting a Band-Aid over the actual root problem. And that's what we do a lot in our journeys. We get really frustrated because we stop tracking, or we self-sabotage by emotional eating, or we self-sabotage by saying we're going to go to the gym and then we don't. And we try to address the symptom, and then it doesn't work. And we wonder why it's not working. And it's because once you understand what the root problem is and address that, the symptoms start to clear up. So I talk about self-sabotage a lot in the reference of spinach in your teeth. And my Macros 101 clients have heard me talk about spinach in your teeth. But I think we've all had the experience of going out to dinner and getting something stuck in our teeth and being very unaware that there's anything in our teeth. And how do we, if we don't even know that there's spinach in our teeth, how do we get it out? Well, there's usually two ways. Either a really good friend is like, hey, girlfriend, you got something in your teeth. And you're like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And you like, get it out. Or you go to the bathroom and you like look in the mirror and you're like, oh my gosh, why didn't none of my friends tell me that I had spinach in my teeth? And we see it in the mirror and we're able to get it out. I want you to think about and understand that self-sabotage is a lot like the spinach in your teeth. There is a root cause, which we're going to talk about. I'm going to get to that. But there's a root cause that is very hard for you to see. They're caused by mental blocks, and they're invisible to us, like spinach in your teeth. And you either need a friend or a coach or a mirror to be able to see them. And once you can see them, we can get them out. But sometimes the hardest thing is to being able to see them. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, is because if we can't see these mental blocks, if we don't know they exist, we can't get rid of them. And so today we're going to start to bring a lot of awareness to some of the mental blocks that may be preventing you from getting the results that you want. Some of the mental blocks that may be causing you to self-sabotage. Okay? So, like I said, the problem is it's very hard to change things that you cannot see. And the mental blocks that cause you to self-sabotage, most of us don't even know what they are, okay? They are like the roots of a weed. If you look out and you see this field of dandelions, and you're like, dang it, I need to get rid of all of these dandelions. And you went and you started picking the dandelions like kids do, right? Pick all the dandelions, and you get through and you pick all of the dandelions out of this field, and all you can see for as far as the eye can see is green, and you worked so hard to be able to do that, and you like pat yourself on the back, like, look how I took care of all that, those weeds. And you left, and you came back 10 days later, what would happen? All the freaking weeds would be back. Why? Because you didn't get to the root. Okay? You got to the stuff that was visible above the surface. You got to the symptom, but you didn't get to the root of the problem. And if you don't get to the root of why you're self-sabotaging, you don't get to the mental blocks that are causing that self-sabotage, the weed's always going to come back. And that is why so many of you guys feel like you're on this like merry-go-round in this cycle of like repeating these behaviors over and over and over and over again, regardless of how hard you try. So again, me and my analogies, we love them. I like to think about life a little bit like a tree. And at the top of the tree are the results that we get. And this is like the visible results, right? How much you weigh, what like size jeans you're wearing, how much muscle you're carrying, right? And all of us want some sort of result. You wouldn't be here. If you'd already created the results you want, you wouldn't be here, right? So there's probably some sort of results that you're wanting to, create. I was laughing because Chris said that dandelions are good for you, that they're not weeds. Touche. Point still remains. If you pull off their heads, they're going to come back. Okay, sidetracked. Results. So we all want results. We all have things that we want to create. And we know that the actions that we take create the results, right? You eat certain foods, it's going to create a result. You go to the gym, it's going to create a result. You meal plan, it's going to create a result, right? We know that we need to take action to create that result. And again, I talked about this on day one. This is where a lot of people stop. They're like, what do I need to do, Amber? What are the actions I need to take to get the results I want? But notice under the ground, where you can't see things, are the roots. And the roots are our beliefs and our identity. But today we're going to specifically talk about beliefs. And you can't see them. Oftentimes you're not even aware that they're there, but they are driving your actions, and your actions are driving your beliefs. And so when we can get down to the root, when we can get down to the belief that's keeping you stuck, the mental blocks that are holding you back, our actions change, and thus our results start to change. Okay, quick sidetrack. Grab out your bingo card and add the secret word for today's live, which is the word and. Again, to remind you, there is one secret word in the daily email that you're receiving, and there's one secret word on the bingo card. And the secret word on the bingo card for today is the word and. Okay? All right, so let's dive into today's challenge that I gave you. And I would, for those of you guys who are here live, and even to those who are listening to the replay, I would love a little bit of interaction from you, because this is going to be much more powerful if we can use examples from your life instead of me just coming up with random ones. So question number one that I asked you in today's homework was the question, losing weight is hard because. what comes up for you? How do you finish that sentence? Losing weight is hard because. Now, I know a lot of you have already put your homework, submitted your homework, but I want you to finish the sentence for me. Pop it into the chat and let me know what comes up for you. Losing weight is hard because. A lot of us have lots of different reasons. Losing weight is hard because I stress eat. Losing weight is hard because I have kids. Losing weight is hard because I don't like the gym. Christina says losing weight is hard because I can't stay consistent. Heidi says I don't have time to commit to myself. Stacy says I let the scale dictate my success. Desiree gets frustrated with herself. Becky says I get lazy/busy and I go for easy. Michelle says I can't eat whatever I want, whenever I want. Let's see. Kathy eats out a lot. Laura says she's not healthy or not consistent with her healthy choices. Rebecca says junk food tastes really good. Okay, so a lot of us have things that come up when I say losing weight is hard because. And I want you to consider that if you continue to believe that losing weight is hard, how will that shape your actions? And if that shapes your actions, how will that impact your results? Okay? I'm doing this in like the most loving way possible, but I want you to consider, just stay with me for a minute. I want you to consider that anything that you put after the words, losing weight is hard because, is a belief. Now, maybe that might have stung a little bit. And some of you are like wanting to kick and scream at me and say, Christy says because I'm over 50, right? And so how could being over 50 be a belief, Amber? Like, I'm over 50. And I want you to understand that the belief isn't whether or not you're over 50, whether or not you have hypothyroidism, whether or not you have 4 kids, whether or not you have a busy job. Like, that's not the belief. The belief is how that impacts your ability to be able to be successful. So if we finish out that sentence, it's losing weight is hard because I'm 50, which means too old. My metabolism is shot. My body's broken. Okay? So it's important to understand that the way that you think about this process is impacting the results that you're getting during the process. And when you start to understand that, and you start to understand that that is a belief, it's not necessarily true, then we can start to shift things for you. And that shifts the actions you take, and that shifts the results that you're starting to get. Okay? How you see your goals will determine what's possible for you. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're probably right. Whether you think weight loss is hard or easy, you're probably right. Whether you think weight loss is possible or not, you're probably right. Now, the tricky thing about beliefs is that for most of us, they don't show up as beliefs. They just show up as like, that's the way things are. I'm 50 and that makes weight loss hard. I have hypothyroidism, that makes weight loss hard. I can't be consistent and that makes weight loss hard. I love this analogy of the 2 fish. Some of you guys may have heard this analogy, but the story goes like this. There are 2 young fish, they're swimming along, having a conversation. As they're swimming along, an older fish swims by in the opposite direction. And the older fish turns to the younger fish and says, "Hey boys, how's the water today?" And then continues swimming along. The 2 younger fish are swimming, and one fish turns to the other and says, "What's water?" The idea of this analogy is that we are all swimming around in water and we don't even know it, right? That fish had always swam in water his entire life. And so of course he didn't realize that the things around him was called water, because that's just how it always had been for him. And it's the same with us, is that all of us are swimming around in water. We're swimming around in beliefs that we don't even realize that we have. And you're starting to wake up to, oh crap, maybe I've had these beliefs about what weight loss is, how hard it is, what it has to look like, how I can be successful or how I can't be successful. And just maybe that's impacting the results that I'm getting. Okay? Now, why? Why the heck do we do this? Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we make it hard for ourselves? Why do we tell ourselves we can't? Why do we say it's impossible? Why does weight loss show up as like something that's really, really hard for us? This is a really, really important thing to understand. We only believe things that give us something. We only hold on to beliefs that provide us something. It is called a secondary gain or a benefit, right? So you can see what those beliefs are costing you, right? Because if you continue to let your past predict your future, you're only going to recreate your past. If you continue the belief that weight loss is hard, it's only going to show up for you as hard. If you continue to believe that you can't be successful, you never will. So then why the heck do we do it to ourselves? If it's costing me so much, Amber, why do I keep believing it? And the answer is very simple. The reason you self-sabotage, the reason you hold on to these beliefs is because there is a secondary gain. And for most of us, it has to do with around safety, around comfort. Okay, there's a benefit for you to hold on to those beliefs. We don't believe something unless it gives us something. So yes, some of these beliefs may run counter to your long-term goals. You say, I want to lose weight, but weight loss is hard because I'm over 50, and thus that's how it shows up for you, and it's impossible for you to get your goals. And there's also a benefit. It keeps you safe. You don't have to take risks. You don't have to put yourself out there. You don't have to potentially fail. You don't have to do hard things that you think that you can't do. But here's the thing I want you to start to understand. Everything that is in this comfort zone, right? So we have this little box, right, with this little man in the comfort zone. And everything in this box is the results that you've been able to create in your journey thus far. You look around, your size, your weight, your pant size, the foods you eat, the exercise you do, the muscle you've built, like that's everything that you have right now. The results you have right now is everything that is within your comfort zone. And the moment you say, I want something else, please and thank you, we realize that those results are not within your comfort zone, which means you have to leave your comfort zone to get them. But then we do this thing where we have all these beliefs like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. Oh my gosh, I'm too old. Oh my gosh, I'm a sugar addict. Oh my gosh, I'm a perfectionist. And we have these beliefs that run on repeat, and it keeps us safe. And it keeps us in our comfort zone. And it keeps us from having to exit out and get uncomfortable. And it also keeps us from getting the results that we want. So what do we do now? Well, we can realize that as we can start to shift those beliefs, as we can start to change the way that we talk, as we can get comfortable being a little bit uncomfortable, we can slowly start to leave our comfort zone. And as we start to leave our comfort zone, we can actually start to manifest the results that we want. Right? So we start to shift our thinking to, I can do this. We start to shift our thinking to, I'm never too old to progress. We start to shift our thinking to, I like sugar and I can also be in control. We start to shift our thinking to, I tend to default to perfectionistic tendencies. And we're able to start to leave our comfort zone and start to manifest the results that we want. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you think about things, the things that you think about change. And it's really important to understand how you have been thinking about weight loss in the past, or muscle gain, or body recomposition, or whatever your said goal, or getting a pull-up, or, right? Like, I hope you hear me saying the words weight loss, and for a lot of you that rings true, but for some of you have other goals. The same concept still applies. Same exact concept. Whether you think you can do a pull-up or not, you're absolutely right. When you change the way you think about doing a pull-up, what's possible for you, your ability to be able to execute on it changes as well. Okay, so question number 2 that I posed to you was, in order to lose weight, I need to, and then you were required to list all the things that you need to do in order to lose weight. Again, those of you who are here live, I would love some audience interaction. What came up for you when I asked this question? In order to lose weight, I need to track my macros. In order to lose weight, I need to go to the gym. In order to lose weight, I need to be consistent. In order to lose weight, I need to meal prep. In order to lose weight, I need to, take medicine. Amanda said, Amber's over here making me feel like all my past excuses are bullshit. They're not bullshit. They're just beliefs. And now that you're waking up to that realization and that understanding, we can start to shift them. And that's powerful. That's what today's about. In order to lose weight, I need to like myself. In order to lose weight, I need to give up foods I love. In order to lose weight, I need to give myself patience. In order to lose weight, I need to work out. I need to believe in myself. I need to wait a long, long, long time. I need to have self-control. I need to eat less. I need to work out more. Again, I want you to think about how that makes you feel when you have this list. of things that you need to do, but feel really hard. It feels like, how am I going to do all of those things? I've known for a long time, Amber, I need to be consistent, but I'm not. What happens when we tell ourselves, this is the laundry list of all the things that you need to do to be able to be successful? Most of us feel a very common emotion, and that is confusion and/or overwhelm. And what do we do when we're confused? What do you do when you're overwhelmed? I don't know about you, but when I'm confused and I'm overwhelmed, it makes me want to freaking sit down on the race course, right? It's like, I'm confused, I'm overwhelmed, throw my hands in the air, sit on down. Not moving from this spot. Most people are not like, oh my gosh, I feel so overwhelmed, I feel amazing, let's go. Okay, but we do this to ourselves. We're like, I have to hit my macros 100%, I have to go to the gym 5 days a week, and then I have to meal prep, and then I also have to pre-log my food, and then I also have to, follow everybody on Instagram, and then I also have to read all these like self-help books, and then I also have to eat more protein, and then I have to pre-prep my protein, right? We like have this, it's like this laundry list, and you look at that and you're like, I can't do all those things, so I'm out. Tab out, peace out, you shut down. Exactly. Okay? It's a way that we keep ourselves safe. Because if you're overwhelmed, you don't have to take action. If you're confused, you don't have to take action. It's a way that we protect ourselves. It's a way we keep ourselves safe. So let's talk about what confusion and overwhelm actually means. Confusion or overwhelm simply means you are learning something new. Think about it. Back when you learned addition, it probably felt overwhelming. It was new. You didn't understand addition back in, kindergarten, first grade. You didn't understand it. So it was new, it felt overwhelming. Does addition feel overwhelming or confusing to you now? You're like, no, it's like super easy. But you had to go through a period of confusion and overwhelm in order to get to the place of mastery. Overwhelm and confusion means you're learning something new, and learning something new is a requirement for new results, which means confusion and overwhelm simply means you're on the right track to learning something new and getting a new result. I love this quote. It says, to be effective, learning needs to be effortful. The same way you feel a muscle burn, I love this quote because it like talks about weightlifting, right? So it's like speaking to me. The same way you feel a muscle burn when it's being strengthened, the brain needs to feel some discomfort when it's learning. Your mind might hurt for a while, but that's a good thing. Have you ever considered that confusion is fantastic? Because it means you're learning something new. And then Queen Brené Brown, I love, says, turns out confusion and overwhelm, like many uncomfortable things in life, are vital for learning. So y'all are sitting out there saying, I want a new result, which is requiring you to gain new skills, to learn new things. And then when you start feeling confused and overwhelmed because you're doing the thing you need to do, which is learn new things, you quit. No wonder we're finding ourselves stuck, okay? Thinking that you can get a new result without learning and doing new things and learning new skills is like thinking that you can go surfing without getting wet. My friend, you cannot have it both ways. You can't go surfing and not get wet. You can't learn things and not get overwhelmed and confused. So the understanding is like this is going to happen, and we just need a systematic way to get out of overwhelm and out of confusion so that you don't throw your hands up in the air and quit and stay stuck and put a little bubble around yourself. I'm seeing lots of like mind blown emojis. I love it. I love hearing when you guys are making connections in your brain. So what's the antidote, Amber? The antidote to confusion over overwhelm is action. And this can feel like the hardest thing, because like when you feel confused and when you feel overwhelmed, the last thing your brain wants to do is take action. But action, in fact, creates clarity. Forward momentum, any forward momentum, I don't care what it is, it doesn't matter what the action is. Any forward momentum, any action is going to create clarity in your journey. So when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel confused, your brain tells you you want to quit, your job is to ask yourself the question, what action step could I take? And it really doesn't matter what it is. Any action is going to move you out of confusion and move you out of overwhelm. So we redefine our relationship with confusion, we redefine our relationship with overwhelm, and we get into action. That's how we solve it. That's how we get out of it. Okay? Now, confusion and overwhelm are just a few of the mental blocks that keep us stuck, right? So I want to talk about a couple of the other very common roots of self-sabotage. Some of you are like, dang, Amber, confusion and overwhelm, that's me. I feel confused, I feel overwhelmed, and I stop. That's how I self-sabotage. But not all of you. Some of you are like, yeah, that's not my deal. That's not my problem. Let's see if you identify with any of these other roots of self-sabotage. The first root is fear of failure. We talked a little bit about this on day one. But some of you have already started to identify, I am terrified of failure. I don't set goals because what if I don't hit them? I start taking action, but then I'm so scared of like, what if I don't hit my goals? I just quit. Now here's something that I want you to mull over. If you feel like you identify with this, that one of the roots of your self-sabotaging behaviors is fear of failure, I want you to understand that you aren't actually afraid to fail. You're afraid of the meaning of failure. Chew on that one for a minute. Complete the sentence in your brain. If I fail, that will mean what? That's what you're afraid of. You're afraid of the confirmation of what you think failure will mean for you. And one of the things that I just really want to hammer home is that a lot of you guys are sitting here and you're having aha moments. And then you want to get into action. You want to get into, wait, what do I do? How do I fix this? How do I stay with me. Just like spinach in your teeth, the hardest part is seeing that it's there. Once you see that it's there, we can get it out. We can sweep it out. But the hardest part is seeing that it's there. And so some of you guys are having realizations that, oh my gosh, this is me. I fear failure, and I actually really fear what failure means because it will mean that I'm not good enough, that I'm unworthy, that I'll never be successful, that I'm a loser. And you have this realization. Stay there. Stay there and understand that, and understand where that self-sabotaging behavior may be coming from, because that is the first step in starting to shift it. Shannon, that's good. Shannon says, failure means someone will no longer be proud of me. Ooh. Kalina said, failure would mean to me that the work would have all been for nothing. Soraya said, if I fail, I'll not only let myself down, I'll let everyone else down. It's interesting to me as I go through these comments that a lot of you guys, your fear of failure isn't around you, but around other people's perception of you. That's interesting. Yeah, Robin said, if I fail, it will mean I'm not good enough. And that's what you're actually afraid of. You're actually not afraid of failure. You're afraid of what you're making failure mean about you. Okay, next one is like the exact opposite. So this feels kind of weird because it's like some of you guys feel failure and some of you actually fear success. Why the heck would we fear success? That doesn't make any sense, Amber. But some of you know what I'm talking about. You're like, I'm actually scared of what will happen if I'm successful. And if that's you and you've started to identify that maybe a little bit in yourself, I want you to ask yourself the question. The worst thing about getting what I want is, and fill in that blank. Because for a lot of us, we have ideas of what success means, what it's going to require, how it's going to change our lives, how it's going to change our relationships. And that's actually what we're afraid of. Again, you're not afraid of success. You're afraid of what you think success will bring. It will bring a new dynamic in your family. It'll bring a change in relationship. It'll bring more stress. It'll bring more fear into your life. Because now that you have it, what if you lose it? Our brains are so funny. So often we fear, oh my gosh, what if I set this goal and I don't achieve it? And then we achieve the goal and that fear, we think that fear will go away. It doesn't, it just morphs. And now the fear is, oh my gosh, what if I lose it? So it's like we fear, what if I don't get it? And then we get it, and then our brain's like, what if you lose it? Okay? So a lot of us are actually fearing success, or what it's gonna cost, or what it's gonna take, or how it's gonna shift things for us. Yeah, so Abby said, the worst thing about getting what I want is, what if I'm not able to maintain it once I'm there? The worst thing about getting what I want is I will have to eat less junk food. The worst thing about getting what I want is I won't be happy with myself for being successful. The worst thing that may happen if I get, the worst thing about getting what I want is my friends who commiserate with me on this journey will leave me. So what you're starting to realize is that some of your self-sabotaging behavior is stemming from what you think success will take, require, or how it will change things for you. Okay, next one. It's a big one. Shows up all the time. It shows up in ways that you have not even yet realized. When I point this out to my clients, they're like all or nothing thinking. It blows their brain because it's like one thing to understand all or nothing thinking. It's one thing to double tap it on Instagram, and it's another thing to start to be able to see it in yourself. Our brain tends to default to all or nothing, black or white, all in, all out. So if you find yourself stuck in the all or nothing thinking, either I have to track all my macros or I track none of my macros. Either I have to go to the gym 4 days a week or I go to the gym 0 days a week. Either I have to track everything perfectly or I don't track anything at all. I want you to start to ask yourself the question, what is the definition of all that I'm using in this scenario? What is the definition of nothing? And what is in between? What is something? So let me give you an example. An example could be, what is all? All is tracking everything I eat in a day. What is nothing? Nothing is tracking nothing I eat in a day. What could be in the middle? What could something be? Could you track 1 meal? That would be something. That would be better than tracking 0 meals. But then our brain goes into this thing and it's like, but Amber, if I only track 1 meal, I'm not going to be successful. Well, friend, aren't you going to be more successful than you would if you track 0 meals? And by trying to track everything, you're actually tracking nothing. So in fact, no, tracking 1 meal would be progress. Okay? But our brain tries to convince us that it's never going to be enough. So if you find yourself defaulting to all or nothing thinking, this is what I want you to start asking yourself. What is all? What is nothing? What's in the middle? How can I do what's in the middle? Okay? Last one is buffering. Buffering is when we prevent ourselves from feeling emotion by putting something in between. We create a buffer between ourselves and feeling emotion. Most of us, especially those of us who grew up in like 80s, 90s, were never taught how to process emotion. We were never taught how to feel emotion. We were never taught what emotion is and what we should do with emotion. We were actually taught to like disregard emotion, like push it out, keep moving forward. And so now we have a bunch of adults who have no idea how to deal with emotion. And we're having to learn that for the first time. Now, school is getting a little bit better. I don't know about your kids, but my kids talk about being in the red zone and the green zone and the blue zone, and their teachers actually ask them when they get to school, hey, are you in the red zone today? If so, here's how we can handle being on the red zone, right? Like red is anger, blue is sad. So they're actually starting to kind of teach this stuff in school, but I don't know about you, but I ain't getting into that when I was in elementary school. So what we do is we figure out a way to handle all these emotions that we're feeling, that we're not used to feeling, or we don't know how to process, or we don't know what to do with. And we buffer. And a lot of us buffer with food. In order to prevent ourselves from feeling emotion, which we're scared of, sadness, frustration, stress, even positive emotions, happiness, joy, we buffer and we use food to create a barrier around us. We eat our feelings. And the problem with this is it doesn't actually work. It works a little bit. That's why we do it. So you can give yourself a little bit of grace. Like we buffer with food because it works a little bit. But just like slapping a Band-Aid onto a gaping surgical wound, it makes us feel a little bit better, but it doesn't actually solve the problem. The problem is that you are not feeling your emotions. You've never been taught how to process them. So if you find yourself doing this, emotionally eating, stress eating, eating your feelings when you're happy, when you're sad, when you're like whatever, the question that you can start to ask yourself is, what emotion am I currently avoiding? What emotion am I avoiding? Frustration, anger, pain, hurt, happiness, joy. Like what emotion am I trying to buffer and trying to avoid? And just bringing awareness and understanding to that is the first step in being able to get away from using food as a buffer. Okay? Lots of mind-blown emojis today. I love it. We've done some heavy hitting today. So I'll take a deep breath. You probably had some big realizations. Some of you are going to need to like chew over this a little bit. Some of you, I would recommend re-listening to this. If you felt like you had some big aha moments, re-listen to this. There's some big stuff in here. And again, like I said, awareness is the first step. It is the most important step. You got to figure out you got spinach in your teeth before you can get it out. So So let's figure out what your spinach is, right? Because your spinach is not the same as your friend's spinach. It's not the same as my spinach. It doesn't really matter what my spinach is. It matters what your spinach is, and how we can start to bring awareness to helping you to have a little bit of compassion and understanding for why you self-sabotage and how we can address the root cause. Okay? All right, so day 1, we talked about where you're starting, what you've done to this point. Day 2, we really talked about creating your finish line. We did the miracle scale, and we talked about what your goals are. And today, we prepped you from something that a lot of you are going to have to overcome, and that is self-sabotage. And now the question starts to become, Amber, how do I make sure that I'm working on the right things? How do I make sure that the action that I'm taking generates results? Because you already know you can take a whole lot of action, but if it's the wrong type of action, you're just wasting energy. And a lot of us have experienced that. It's like, I'm doing all of the things, Amber, and I'm not seeing any results. And starting to have that realization that just because you're doing all the things doesn't mean you're doing all the right things. I remember when my husband was studying for the MCAT, he had this book that was called High Yield. It's like high yield questions for the MCAT. And the idea was that, like, studying for the MCAT, which is the entrance test to get into medical school, you're tested on literally anything in your like undergraduate science background, medicine background, like anything. So trying to study everything is never going to work. You literally cannot study all of the things. You just can't. So what they do is they create a book and they say, these are the high yield things. These are the things that often will show up. These are the things that if you focus on, this is 80% of what's going to be on the test. And that's what you need as well. You need to know the high yield things to be doing. So you're not spending all of your energy on all the very low yield things and wondering why you're staying stuck. And that's what we're going to talk about tomorrow. What are the high yield things that you need to be focusing on to be able to be successful in your journey? Super proud of you. Super proud of that you are here on day 3, and I can't wait to see you back on day 4.